So in this lesson, we're looking at Cleopatra's death and Antony's in 30 BC. We'll call the details of the deaths, understand why they had to die, and look at some sources. Inevitable is going to happen. A triumph, the procession through Rome, a Roman warlord had after he'd won a great campaign, usually dragging or sometimes dragging your prisoners through the streets of Rome with you. Suicide on a mausoleum, a sort of a big building and be buried in. An above ground grave is a mausoleum. Asp, cobra, you know what these words are. The snake, Caesarion, Cleopatra's son with Julius Caesar. So, after Actium, Cleopatra and Mark Antony head back to Alexandria. Mark Antony is at first still hopeful he can carry on because his legions are going to be loyal to him, even though he's lost the navy. Quickly finds out that's not happened. He's lost them. He thinks, well, I've got a couple of legions left in Libya. They quickly desert. Mark Antony falls into complete despair, takes himself off to the Isle of Pharos, builds himself a little house, and lives there, depressed and drunk for a while, until Cleopatra convinces him to come back to Alexandria, back to her palace and back to her bed. So, they got no chance. Also, Cleopatra plans to leg it. She gathers a group of ships on the Red Sea, other side of Egypt, plans to load it full of treasure and troops, what they got left, and head off to somewhere in India to found a new kingdom. Doesn't work out. According to the sources, the Nabatean Arabs burn her fleet. So now they're trapped. That's their last hope gone, really. 30 BC, Octavian invades, by land and by sea. It's not really a proper invasion, it's more of an occupation. Antony does venture out with what small forces got left, but it doesn't really work out. There's a few skirmishes. At one point, Antony sends out his last few ships and they all immediately surrender. So it's not really an invasion, it's not a war really, it's more of an occupation because Antony and Cleopatra are done for. Which leads us to the death of Mark Antony. He tries several times to grant the courage to kill himself. Doesn't quite work out. He hears Cleopatra killed himself, so finally he kills himself. He kills himself the Roman way. He stabs himself with a sword. Though not fatally, he doesn't die straight away. Cleopatra, by this time, takes herself off to her mausoleum. She's had herself built a huge temple she plans to be buried in. And she's barricaded herself in there as Octavian's army heads towards Alexandria. When Octavian's army gets there, she asks for Antony to be brought to her just before he dies, or as he's dying, and that happens. And you get quite a long period of negotiations between Cleopatra, barricaded inside her mausoleum, and the Romans outside. Because Octavian doesn't want to break his way in, because the place is full of treasure, and he wants it. And he knows that Cleopatra has threatened to set fire to the place if he tries to break in. So he tries to negotiate his way in. He sends people in to talk to her, to discuss things. One of his friends, Dolabella. There's lots of back and throwing, you know. And you got here, she has Antony's ashes, and she makes a speech here about what she's going to do. And it says here, look in sources, this is really quite important for us. I am watched so that I can be used to celebrate the triumph over you. Yeah? She knows the Romans' plan to take her back to Rome for a triumph, and she wants to avoid that. She's also quite alive to save her children's lives, I think, at this point. We have to say that. The Romans eventually trick their way into the mausoleum and capture Cleopatra. But she's still not done yet. Not quite. Octavian himself, according to Plutarch, comes to see her. And if you read through this source, you'll see that she's sort of trying to win him over. I'm not sure she's trying to seduce him, but she's certainly trying to win him over. As he entered, she leapt up and fell at his feet. Her charm, attractiveness, her sad situation, they shone forth from within. But Octavian is, of course, he's not Caesar, he's definitely not Mark Antony, and he's simply not falling for it. But she is here trying to manipulate him, trying to get out of her situation, trying to get some last bit of hope. But she realizes it's not going to work. She realizes she can't seduce Octavian, she can't sweet talk him, she can't convince him to leave her as queen. So famously, she killed herself. She has the asp, according to Plutarch, has the asp brought in, hidden in some figs. It bites her, and then you get some stuff about what everyone thinks about this. Octavian, although angry, admired her noble spirit. He ordered that her body should be buried with Antony and with all the royal splendour. She was 39 when she died. She'd been queen for 22 years and ruled with Antony for 14 years. Antony was 56. What happens to Alexander, her children? Well, the ones with Mark Antony seem to do okay. They're married off to various princes in the area. Caesarea, not so much. One of his advisors says to Octavian, too many Caesars is not good, meaning you're Caesar, this guy's also Caesar. Shortly after, Caesarion disappears, almost certainly assassinated by Octavian, or on Octavian's orders.